Welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving into something truly fascinating. We're opening up a beautifully written text from way back in 1922, Owen Rutter's exhaustive account of British North Borneo. We're going to explore the massive scale, the frankly bizarre history, and the untamed beauty of a land that, a century ago, was still completely shrouded in mystery.
Right in the introduction to this book, Sir Wes Ridgway hooks us by posing two very foundational questions. And you might be wondering the exact same things. Where exactly is North Borneo, and to whom does it actually belong? He points out that, back in the 1920s, practically nobody on the street could answer these questions. People just didn't have any real grasp of the immense scale of this territory.
To put this into perspective, let's take a look at the geopolitical layout of the era. First off, we have to appreciate the absolute staggering size of Borneo itself. We're talking 290,000 square miles. It's literally the second largest island in the entire world, smaller only than New Guinea. But it wasn't a single nation. The island was carved up among different powers, kind of like a giant pie. 3/4 of this massive island belonged to the Dutch, another 1/7 was Sarawak, famously ruled by the White Rajas, and that remaining little fraction at the very top, well, that consisted of the tiny native state of Brunei and our main focus for today, British North Borneo.
Part 1. The Corporate Kingdom. A completely bizarre historical reality. Now, this wasn't your traditional colony. Believe it or not, it was actually run by a private corporation. Let's look at how this all went down over a super rapid period of political transition. The source text neutrally maps this out for us. So in 1878, this highly strategic corner of the globe was essentially just purchased from native rulers by a small body of English gentlemen. It was basically an 11th-hour move to block a foreign power from swooping in and getting it first. Then just 3 years later, in 1881, they were granted a royal charter. And finally, by 1891, an official border convention was signed with the Netherlands to officially lock in those boundaries.
So, what does this all mean for the people living there? Well, the crucial point is how this private company actually operated once it took control. The text outlines a massive economic and social transformation, reporting impartially on the dual nature of their presence. On the economic side, there was some pretty heavy exploitation of resources. They set up these huge rubber and tobacco estates, cleared vast tracts of land for timber, and kicked off coal mining. But socially, they also rolled out some very vigorous vaccination campaigns. According to the author, smallpox had previously just devastated the region. These direct medical interventions by the company effectively saved the indigenous population from annihilation, which actually led to a really large increase in their numbers over time.
Part 2. The Shape of the Land. Let's look at this untamed geography.
The author uses some incredibly fun, dual visual metaphors to describe the shape of this territory on the map. He notes that the whole island of Borneo is basically shaped like a gigantic pear. But if you isolate British North Borneo right at the top, the shape changes completely. Rutter describes it as looking exactly like the head of a monstrous boar with pricked ears.
And honestly, if we look at exactly how the coastline forms this shape, the boar's anatomy matches up perfectly. The open jaws of the beast are formed by the deep inlet of Darvel Bay. The pricked ears, listening intently at the top, are the extremities of Marudu Bay. And the snout of the boar pushes out on this great peninsula that is, delightfully, and I guess literally, named Hog Point on the map. You really can't unsee it once you know it's there.
Now, moving inland from that snout, the terrain becomes incredibly dynamic. Rutter gives us this deeply evocative description of the winding, maze-like rivers that define the coastal lowlands. Picture this. He writes that the river is, quote, threading its way like a great snake. Vegetable deposits push the mangrove forward towards the sea, the swamp-loving nipa palm takes root. It's this wild landscape that is literally constantly building itself, choking with mangrove and palm before finally giving way to the dense, dark, virgin jungle.
Part 3. The Dragon's Mountain. An awe-inspiring climax.
13,455 feet. That is the staggering height of Mount Kinabalu, the absolute highest peak in Malaya. And it doesn't just sit in the landscape, it completely dictates it. The geography of the entire territory is deeply tied to this massive granite mass. It serves as the physical hub for all the radiating mountain ranges, which just shoot off from its base for hundreds of miles, exactly like the spokes of a mighty wheel.
We can see a beautiful golden buffalo stamped on the original 1922 book cover. And this imagery really helps anchor our narrative in the deep culture of the island. Because, a mountain of that sheer size isn't just a geological feature to the people who live in its shadow. The local natives hold Mount Kinabalu in the deepest veneration. To them, it's a highly sacred place.
It is the resting place of departed spirits, and according to local folklore, it is actually the formidable home of a dragon.
The author leans into this brilliant metaphorical visualization to convey the mountain's absolute physical dominance over the surrounding landscape. Because it stands just 25 miles from the coast, it is visible from incredibly far away. Rudder describes it as, quote, looming up in its vast bulk above the lesser hills as an ocean liner above a launch. That is just such an unforgettable image of nature's sheer scale, isn't it?
But a landscape this dramatic breeds incredibly dramatic human stories. Peeking ahead at the later chapters in the book's table of contents, we really have to ask ourselves, what exactly lies hidden beneath that mountain's shadow? The texts tease some absolutely wild native folklore. We're talking chilling tales of elan vampires, deeply entrenched headhunting feuds, and tribes boasting fierce pirate ancestry. It really leaves us wondering what other untamed secrets this corporate kingdom held back in 1922. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I truly hope this sparks your curiosity to learn even more about this wild, incredible slice of history.